So today we are talking about your latest film. Could you introduce briefly Between Revolutions?
Between Revolutions is a story of two female characters, very close friends, that studied together at the University of Medicine in Bucharest in the 70s. They kept a very intimate and close correspondence throughout the years. One of them is Maria, Romanian character, and the other one is from Iran, called Zahra.
And what was your motivation about this documentary?
Before this, I just want to add that this film is about the correspondence of women, of these two women against propaganda, against male-orientated history in both of these countries. Regarding the motivation, I was for a long time curious about social movements and revolutions. I was born in the year of the Iranian Revolution, 79, and I was 10 when the revolution happened in my own country. And I was curious how was, besides what we saw on TV or on films of these very patriarchal images, I was curious how the lives of other people, the lives of women have been during this time, women like my mother. The motivation was a discussion I had with her regarding her student years. She showed me pictures, fragments of letters, and she told me how her life was while she studied at the University of Medicine. So many autobiographical elements from my mother's life are part of the character of Maria. And because I was living a little far from her, I always wondered how her years were when she was a student and she still had me. After she gave birth to me, I stayed with my grandparents, and I was in a way longing for her. So after years, I asked myself how was the life of women in Romania, and at the same time discovering photographs, her photographs with colleagues from the Middle East and researching. And I was curious how people from other countries saw my country. What is the border between East and West? And then gradually I started working on the story of these two characters, and I worked with a writer from Romania, Lavinia Braniște, whose books are focused on female characters, and this is how the story evolved and transformed into the film we see today.
So when we talk about democratization, both in the cases of Romania and also in Iran, we talk about different men changing in the positions of power. And you decided to actually put a focus on women, on women in Romania and in Iran. Why is that? And did you have any references when you start making the movie?
As I said before, it's for me, in a way, these characters are mirroring the life of my mother. So this was the starting point. That's why I chose to have female characters. And I was also interested into in issues related to feminism, because during communism there were many talks about feminism, and mostly it was on a very theoretical level, and I was curious in the archives how this issue is addressed, and it was addressed, of course, but in real life, life was still very patriarchal. And at the same time, because I'm interested into Iran and I've traveled there, I was also curious about these issues, because as we know, the society is very separated in Iran and other countries where it's compulsory for women to wear hijab or niqab or burqa or chador, and Yes, I knew many stories of women trying to change things in the beginning of the Iranian Revolution and how these hopes fade away. So in a way, it's a film about power, about this struggle and the thing that power is most of the time kept and hijacked by men.
So in the film, we have Maria from Romania and we have Zahra from Iran. And would I be wrong if I would describe them as semi-fictional? Could you tell us more about the letters they exchange in the documentary?
Yeah, the letters are based on documents, but they're fiction. Yeah, it's they're both characters. For me, they're like reflections in a mirror. In a way, Zahra, even she's more energetic, she's more politically motivated to change her country than Maria. They're very close. I mean, we don't see them. We try to find them in the archives and to make a portrait out of their voices and out of the text we see in the letters. But for me, they're parts of the same coins in a way, of the same coin, different faces, and it's yeah, even if they're different, I mean, their relation is really close. And Maria, by the end of the film, she's becoming more politically active, and she thinks about all that Zahra says about her country.
So throughout the film, they exchange these letters, and we won't give away a lot of the story. But could you tell us what is the portrait of women before and after the revolutions, both in Iran and in Romania? Because we see this story developing, and things are changing for them both.
Yeah, it's it's a really interesting question. I think in the film. Yeah, we can see these transformations, but I think to really go deep in the subject, yeah, we need maybe to read some books or to discuss a lot about this, because, for example, of course, in the film we see that before the revolution, women were free to wear what they want to, and then gradually the Islamic Republic steps in. At the beginning, women in Iran were they had protests. One of the most important one is the 8 March protest, where there were Iranian women, but also families from Western Europe, from France and USA coming to this protest. And they were still negotiating with the Islamic Republic, but after Khomeini set in, and the Islamic Republic was validated by a referendum, the rights of women gradually faded, and they were obliged to wear hijab and like it is now. And in Romania, what we see in the film is the arriving of capitalism, and we see that it's harder and harder to have a life. The character, she's relying on her husband, that she's not very, I don't want to give spoilers, but he's going to Turkey and to bring goods and everything, so it's really hard for her. What I discovered during the film process, because when we work with archives, it's always a discovery. I discovered a lot of, but we decided not to put in the film a lot of body exposing in Romania after the revolution. In 89, capitalism steps in, and it was full of Miss contests, for example. Throughout the country, there were these Miss and women on the stage showing their bodies, and people gave votes for them, and they gave prizes. Some are really ridiculous, but we decided not to put like this, because the look on them, even from now, I don't think it could be very history specific. So many people will go on a wrong direction, or maybe giving the same masculine haze like it was in the original archives. So it was too much for the film to be like this. So yeah, these revolutions are really demarcations, and yeah, there are many changes before and after them in both of these countries, and it's a lot to talk about, because also in Iran, is this image that women were free, but even during the shock, it was not like this in the Western media. Just because you see images of women not having hijab doesn't mean that they have freedom. The society was still patriarchal, and it was a dictatorship even before the revolution. But this film is about hopes and utopia and believing in a change. But in the end, this change is didn't turn out very good in both countries.
And throughout the film, it is very visible, this difference between Maria and Zahra, because, for example, Zahra was brave enough to leave her country and come to Romania. And then she was again brave enough to go back to Iran when she felt that something very important is happening there. And on the other side, we have Maria, and she talks about the pressure getting married, that at some point it is the thing to do for a woman. So what do you think about their very specific relationship and how it is portrayed in the movie? What does it tell us about the relationships that women can establish in the big like portrait of what is historically happening?
Zahra is coming from this left-wing background, and I was interested in this. I saw letters by the two-day Communist Party sent to the Romanian party. They want to have better relations before and after the revolution, and so she comes from this intellectual background, and because of this, her father sends her to Romania, and she saw the socialism of the 70s, and she saw many hopes for her. Romania was like a window to the West. It was in the West. And she saw the nice society that was at that time. So in a way, she believed, she thought that Iran can go to a more left orientated direction, but then gradually her hopes are fading away. So she represents a lot of women because we research on documentaries, on films, talks with Iranians. We also had a woman text consultant, Shirin Kalantar from Iran. And we also, we saw that in the books of Azar Nafisi, and other books coming from female perspectives, and also from the poetry of Farrokhzad, which is amazing feminist poetry from Iran before the revolution. But she represents, Zahra represents a class, I think the intellectual women class, so underrepresented after the revolution. And regarding Maria and the conformation, it's things I've also saw in my family, and I know from Romania. It was this, it was communist, but there were so many rules, almost like Catholic Poland it is now. Abortion was forbidden, and there were so many rules, and it was this natality practice by Ceausescu that you have to have children all the time, and you pay lower taxes if you have more children. So it's a pressure on her that it was on many families, on many women in Romania to give birth to children.
And throughout the film, we are able to see a lot of many magnificent archive materials. What was it like for you to go through all of these archives and to select the ones that we actually see in the film?
It was a double editing process. Of course, we searched for political events at the beginning, and also on propaganda documentaries about the lives of women in these two countries. And then it was not, this is very vague, but we discovered interesting pieces, and then we focused on propaganda images, but then we moved to more intimate archives, personal archives. So it was this kind of double editing process, because at the beginning it was the text, a very big text, and the images, and then we realized at the beginning we wanted to say many things, but they didn't work together. It was 90-minute film, very long and very, very heavy, a lot of text. we took out text, but then we found new images. So sometimes we found new images and we worked on the text, and after that we had to get rid of the text and to change images between so the decisions came in both directions. So we have a text that we liked and we thought what images can work here, and some images worked or not, and sometimes we said, oh, these images are really good and maybe the text can help, but it didn't. So yeah, it was this process when things happened. But it's I think with this kind of film, with this hybrid form documentary, you never know when to stop. I'm happy how it is now, but I think you can work a lot. I mean, even before our premiere, that was at the Berlin Film Festival, we changed some last minute things, and there were images that I really loved. For example, I was asked at one Q&A, I don't know if in Zagreb or there were some images with some women flying, and I really liked that moment. There were parachute from, there were air jumping, and they were in a class studying flying, and they also talked in front of the camera about the freedom that the sky gives to you, and flying from above, to be above other people, even if they are important people. And that was really nice, nostalgic, and told a lot about their ideas, but we had to cut it out because of the editing. So it's hard to say. We didn't have a very clear idea at the beginning how it will work, but mainly the film stays like this. I didn't want to be just about these two revolutions, but to start before and to finish after, and for the audience to be a strong story, than to think not only that can happen to Romania and Iran, but that can happen in other societies too.